Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the Hunter Biden trial. I've kind of steered clear of this in the last few days, and the trial itself is simple and only a few days. As people may know from before, I find this case distasteful because it seems like prosecutorial overkill and even has a whiff of politicized prosecution, which, everybody disparages, but and maybe is too quick often to allege. But this one to me seems like what has happened here. So to just quickly recap the main bidding, Hunter Biden, well, in the throes of bad drug addiction, controlled, as he says, by the pipe. He was smoking crack cocaine regularly and addicted. We're in the sort of the 2018 period, during not long before which his brother Beau had died of brain cancer, the sort of heroic golden boy of the family. And he is just a complete mess. I mean this by explanation. Lots of defendants have, really sympathetic stories. And that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be charged with crimes that they've committed, but this one is different, as I'll explain. So in the throes, using a lot, and at a time when he is in a relationship with Beau Biden's widow, to put another crazy and sort of sordid detail on it all, he buys a gun. And when he gets the gun, he fills out a form that says, and one of the questions on the federal form, 3373, are you an unlawful drug user? He marks no. And it's clearly a period when, writ large, when he's using drugs, the question, it's one of the few kinds of defenses that his lawyer, a very prominent, aggressive, high-priced Washington lawyer, Abby Lowell, will be making to the jury is, can't say on that date precisely that he was using drugs, and it could have been, honestly, that he was thinking that he's not a drug user in that time. I'll return that evidence in a second, just to say what's so objectionable to me about the case. The Department of Justice norm is really clear. This is just not a case that gets charged lying on a form when that lie has no connection to a subsequent crime. People lie on these forms a lot. They shouldn't lie on forms. It's a crime to lie on forms, but a lot of people do it there. And in the overall sort of discretion and landscape of the Department of Justice, they basically invariably don't get prosecuted unless they commit another crime, or maybe there's an instance or two where whether or not they've been charged with another crime, they're really bad actors in the community, and you want to leverage this charge to get them out of circulation and the like. But that's it. And that's what the DOJ, in the person of David Weiss, decided to do with Hunter Biden. Back up a little. David Weiss was the U.S. attorney in Delaware, Biden's home state, under Trump. And this investigation has been going on forever, and certainly since Trump was president. And to show how hands-off and punctilious they are, when the Garland crowd came in, they kept David Weiss in office, in large part to pursue this investigation. And gave him sort of free rein, and later, I don't think we have to go through this procedure, made him a special counsel, same thing as Jack Smith is. But anyway, they worked out a deal completely consistent with DOJ policy. It also would have disposed of a couple tax counts during the depths of his addiction. Biden, as he wrote in his book, which was featured evidence in the case, he was controlled by the pipe. It was just the pipe. I'm sure he didn't even open his taxes, much less pay them. So they were going to deal with a couple tax counts as misdemeanors. And on this gun charge, they were going for diversion, meaning They hold a charge sort of in abeyance. They don't bring it, and if he keeps his nose clean for a year, the charge would go away as if it never had been brought. That's also consistent, by the way, with how many offices, and not simply, namby-pamby Democrats, deal with the huge problem of drug addiction. When you have someone, and that's really what's going on, and you can, induce them to get out of the addiction or get clean, that's something you want to do. So they did all that, and they went to court to actually enter this plea agreement before a judge, both the taxes and the gun. And sloppy lawyering, the agreement for the gun just basically gave a role to the judge that she would be kind of certifying that he had, kept things clean for a year. And she rightly said, whoa, what, this is not my job. This is whether you're charging or not. And that's an executive branch decision, not a judicial branch decision. I don't want any part of this. And she was right. But the plea agreement just basically fell apart at that point, in front of everyone's eyes. I guess it had been stitched together with, delicately and with some bitterness. And all of a sudden the deal was off. Okay, fine. The deal is off. You return to the table or whatever. But at that point, a huge, storm erupted on the Hill on the part of Republicans who thought that Weiss was giving Hunter Biden way too easy a deal, even though, at least, as I say, for the guns, it was completely consistent with DOJ policy. So much more that I, again, won't labor here, but just to say, when the dust settled, he is looking at 2 serious charges that could bring serious jail time to him. One, the tax charges that'll be tried later in California, and then this gun charge, where instead of the diversion, they have thrown the book at him. So that's what's so distasteful to me about the case. And all these facts that really go to, is this overall equitable? Is this consistent with DOJ policies and the like, which go to fairness and writ grandly? He's got basically no possibility of using here. They are, people all the time charge prosecutorial bias, selective prosecution, and the law is clear that it's a very narrow channel and not one you try to a jury. It's a separate kind of thing you try to a judge. So all the jury is hearing is the facts that would have grounded the diversion, and the facts that ground now this charge, which could bring real prison time. And those are the facts that have been laid out over the last 3 days. The sort of star witness for the prosecution, Hallie Biden, Beau Biden's widow, who was romantically involved with Hunter at the time and just going through hell herself, using some crack cocaine at his behest, but just finding pipes and paraphernalia, and there's Beau's kids around, and it's really nasty and a mess. She is actually the one who finds the gun after he's had it all of 11 days, never used it, never taken the lock off, and throws it in a dumpster. And had she not, it would have never been found. But she, testified how totally distraught and what a terrible situation this was. Okay, so now the facts are as she testifies. A big part is very little is contested here by the defense. They play a big chunk. Hunter Biden, is himself the first witness in the sense that they read a lot from his book, which he reads in his own voice commercially. So they have him talking about how completely in the depths he was because of drug use. They have Hallie Biden, who gets immunity because she could otherwise be, a conspirator. So it could seem. And then other people involved in his life, and the prosecution rests. But basically, with Hallie Biden, they really lay it out. Yes, he bought the gun. Yes, he was using drugs. And now it's the defense turn. It won't be very long. They have put on the stand the employee from the gun store, the owner of the gun store. I think they want to show that the whole thing was a little bit slapdash. Maybe some changes were made after he filled it out and the like. But he really has, that his sort of the defense they're going for it seems to be something like Hallie Biden testifies that he's using drugs a lot during this period, but she can't really say she saw him using drugs from the month in question, from like the 4th to the 18th. I think the 16th is the day that he fills out the form. So maybe when, it's not a very well worded question. Are you a user of unlawful drugs? Last year, ever, 8 a.m. today. So that will be the claim. And I think it's very likely Biden himself won't testify. So it'll be an argument that Lowell makes to the jury. And maybe there's a play here for jury nullification. We came across that concept more with Trump because New York specifically outlaws it. Says if you find there's, evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, you must vote to convict. In the federal system, it's got a bad odor. It's kind of a violation of a juror's charge. And it's not really put that way. I think many criminal law theorists would say, no, it's something that's legitimate and designed as a kind of safety valve for prosecutorial overreaching. Of course, they don't know about the prosecutorial overreaching here. And I am not right now taking a stand for jury nullification. It's, it basically normally is a bad thing, I think, for the criminal justice system. But anyway, that I think is as part of a possible defense. The circumstances, which are largely tragic and kind of so destructive of families, rather than nasty criminal stuff. That's the hope, that it will be presented that way to the jury, which has on it to the defenses. They were happy with the jury. A lot of people who have had this in their family, there are just a lot of people, period, who have had it in their family. You can see it cutting both ways, of course, because people who have had these problems in their family maybe feel like they tried and tried and tried and tried, and maybe jail is necessary to get people to sober up and finally beat the addiction. But in any event, Lowell, his lawyer, who had a lot to say about the process of the way this was now reanimated after the trial, after the plea went awry, played those cards, but in front of a court. As I say, they're not for a jury. So he's going in with a rather thin hand, and that's what it will be. Now, the whole thing, of course, is inextricably, even though illegitimately, tied up in the Trump convictions and will be part of, oh yeah, well, Trump's in jail. Well, now so is Hunter Biden. Or even if people criticize the prosecution, will be, yeah, see what it's like. That happened with Trump. And the idea is to blunt the criticism of the Trump convictions by sort of, piling on, not to mention the distraction and to a level of maybe, agony for the president who, one son has died and Hunter has been had such a very, very difficult life. The Biden family has been out in force. His mom and others have been in court. This case obviously has a really rough personal dimension. But anyway, that's where we are, on just the brutal facts. When he said, no, I'm not an unlawful drug user, is there a reasonable doubt that he wasn't lying because he was thinking, I've been clean for 2 days or a week or 2 weeks for all they can show? That will sort of be what the jury will be wrestling with, and if indeed it's a wrestle, when they are deliberating, and they ought to get the case Monday or Tuesday. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.